Doing YouTube. Welcome to the Coach Renz page. We are going to get started in just a few minutes. Get people time to get on. Get a few things set up. Gotta have it set up. Gotta get the setup set up. Okay, good. I can read that from there. Gonna take a few minutes. Let a few people get on. I'm gonna talk about this big lie. This big lie we all been told. Big old lie we all been told. And that many people still believe. The lie of Enlil versus Inky, God versus the devil. This whole idea. I'm going to break it down in many parts. Historically, of course. If you watch my channel, you know we break down things historically quite often. You got to know the history of something before you can decide what you're going to believe and what you're not going to believe, what you're going to accept and what you're not going to accept. What's truth and what's a lie. As you come on, let me know where you're at. Where are you? If you're watching this on Facebook, you might want to click over and go to your YouTube app so you can actually commentate. Comment. But if you're finding me for the first time, I'm larenzoreid, Coach Renz. We talk about the 360 degrees of life on this channel. We talk about gaining the alchemical mindset. The alchemical mindset is not just accepting what you've been told, which is odd. We're in this election year and people just accept what they've been told instead of actually thinking through the process of what they're hearing. So, we're going to talk about that. I'm a little snacky. As you guys know, I own Uncle Renz popcorn. So I'm eating some of my popcorn. Matter of fact, for those watching this now and those who watch it later, put popcorn in it. Put hashtag popcorn in the comments. Somebody's going to win a 10-pack of gourmet popcorn from me. Somebody's going to win it. One of my 10-pack sampler packs. Somebody's going to win a sampler pack of gourmet popcorn from Uncle Renz Popcorn by just putting hashtag popcorn in the comments, whether you're watching this now or you're watching this within the next 3 days. All right? 3 days. 3 is always a popular number. So, we're going to get started here in a minute. We're going to have a conversation that's been a repetitive conversation over and over again. RG got that hashtag popcorn. That's what's up. And if RG, if you the only one who put it on there, guess what? You the only one gonna win. But let's talk about this. Now, for those who don't know, a little bit about myself. What up? Who? Daddy? I'm not calling you daddy though, just to let you know. Many people know who Enlil and Inky is. Many people know who I am, for that matter. So first, let me qualify myself a bit. I have been studying these things since I was 9 years old. I'm 49 right now. So for the last 40 years, the deeper level study of religion and spirituality has been something that was constantly on my mind and in my life. Of course, at 9 years old, I didn't necessarily study it as a 9-year-old. And with a 9-year-old mindset, I asked questions that adults were asking. I asked questions that adults were afraid to ask. I, at 9 years old, would spend days practically in the Marietta Public Library, learning as much as I possibly can, trying to figure out this Bible, figure out heaven, hell, figure out God and the devil, trying to figure all these things out. How you doing, Cornell? Hashtag popcorn gets you in the winning. You might get a chance to win. I'm going to say that about a few more times in here. Now, so ironically, I've been on a Sumerian video Watch here. The Anunnaki has a new look on me. We're going to talk about the Anunnaki in this video. Well, we have to. We're talking about Enlil and Inky. Can't help it. But I've been studying this stuff since I was 9. I had heard about the Anunnaki. I think I heard the first time I heard about the Anunnaki, I was maybe like 15 years old. But at a 15-year-old in Georgia, that's not something that you speak out on. Otherwise, you get called all kind of, you're going to hell, you're Satan, you're Beelzebub, you're all these different things. Which only caused me to ask more questions about who's Satan, who's Beelzebub, who's all these people. So we're going to break some of those things down today to get an understanding. I've studied in many different historical sites, from Israel to Egypt to Samaria, Mesopotamia, and Iraq, and Iran, Syria. These are modern day names. These places were, of course, named something different back then. Been to Vatican libraries, been to other museums throughout the world where this information is supposed to be. I said, yeah, I stopped watching the video to check it out. All right, so you was currently watching the video. Gene splicing stirs up a great interest. Yes, gene splicing. We're going to get into a little bit of gene splicing. And I'm going to keep this video, I don't want to use the term dumbed down, but I'm going to keep this video at a, basically, you know how they say if you want somebody to understand and talk to them talk like you're talking to a 3-year-old. I'm not going to talk to you guys like a 3-year-old, but we're definitely going to get into some of this information. We're going to spend about an hour, maybe more, I don't know. Depends on when my wife walks through that door. That's how long we're going to spend. I'll give you 10 minutes post her walking through the door. But I study these things over a long period of time, going against the grain. I was doing this when there was no internet, so you had to send information, request information from the Library of Congress, request information from the Vatican, request information from museums in Egypt and Syria. You have to request all this information. You have to go there and actually be there. You have to read archaeological papers and journals and things of that nature to kind of put these things together. You have to dive deep into the books that were considered spiritual readings, spiritual books, and understand them. What's up, One Life? Hashtag popcorn gets you into the running for getting some gourmet popcorn from me. Get a sample pack, a 10 sample pack. Hashtag popcorn in the comments. But I spent a lot of time studying over the years. And the internet's made things a lot easier, but it's also made some things worse. Because the internet allows us to be able to pass along information, but all that information is not always correct, and it can be a little, mind-numbing. And recently, there's a gentleman, getting ready to coach him on, he's walking away from traditional religion, and it's a hard thing because there's so much information on the internet, and he doesn't know which way to go, what he's listening to, that sort of thing. I mean, it's difficult. So a guide is what he's looking for. Here's the thing. All our lives, we are and have been, what's up, Full Spectrum? All our lives, we've been taught, when you're born, you're taught into a spirituality. Make no mistake about it. If you are of a religion right now, and mind you, let me get this little part here. I'm not trying to dog out anybody's religion. I'm just telling you what's been written and what's been said and what people, archaeological evidence that we've found. I'm sure there's a ton more archaeological evidence that we have not found. And as they become realized, we have to change our mindset. We believe that the Sumerian and the Egyptian societies were the oldest societies, dating back about 12,000 years ago. Well, no, about 8,000 years ago. But now we realize that in Turkey, Göbekli Tepe is about 12,000 years ago. So Egypt and Sumeria wasn't the first one that we actually have evidence of yet. Because they could come back around and we find more evidence that Egypt and Sumeria have been around longer. If you go by the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, then you have to say that the first civilization that Thoth came to, Ningasita came to, was Egypt, because that's what he says in the Emerald Tablets. And he says he came from Atlantis, and then you have Lemuria. So we have civilization prior to that. You go down into the Apsu, we'll get to the Apsu later, which is southern Africa. You find human crawl civilizations that's been around for 200,000 years. Well, if they were crawl civilizations, then they were civilizations. Were they of the magnitude of what we know of Egypt and Sumeria and Babylonia? Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. We really don't know. And just because we don't see tall buildings and monuments doesn't necessarily mean that they were inferior. I mean, we find that they speak about things that we have today. They speak about fiery chariots that we would call a rocket or a jet today. They talk about flying over areas and spaces. They talk about the manipulation of energy and the movement of giant boulders and things like that with sound and thought. So we can't say that these people were not as intelligent as we were. And they say that the gods gave them this information. We have to take all this stuff into account and really try to gain an understanding of it. And that's where many people get lost. And many people won't go beyond what they've been taught in their spiritual circles, what their pastor taught them, what their mother, their father, their grandparents, their aunts, uncles, what they grew up into. They won't go past that. If you ask someone to truly study their religious book, you will find that all they study is what's currently written in their book. Ask them to grab a hold of a copy of their book that's 200 years old, and I would love to see their expression because the book would be different. There's no way around it. There's absolutely no way around it. The book is different. 200-year-old, let's see, we're in 20. So a 200-year-old Bible is going to be different than a Bible today. The language will be different. A 500-year-old Bible is going to be different than it is today because the language was different. There are actually going to be passages that's in the Bible today that was not in the Bible back then. So what do? How do you handle that? Well, one of the greatest lies that we've been told, and we're going to stick with this one, and that is the conversation about Inky and Enlil, God versus the devil. The issue that we have here is who is Inky and who is Enlil? Let's break that down very quickly. If you read any of these Sumerian texts and then you can marry them up to other ancient texts to gain an understanding that it's all the same stories, just different based on the cultures who were writing at the time that they were writing, you will find that Inky and Enlil are the two sons of Anu. Now, who is Anu? Anu was the king of the Anunnaki, the king of the Agigi. He was the king of Nibiru. It's so named Nibiru by Zachariah Sitchin, pretty much coined that name, I believe. But Nibiru is supposedly this planet, this additional planet in our solar system that has this long elliptical orbit, and the planet was in trouble. The planet had issues. There you go. Hashtag popcorn gets you into the running. The planet had a weird orbit, and they have been in war so much that their atmosphere was jacked up, and they needed to find gold. Gold would help to repair their environment, help to repair. Monatomic gold sprinkled in the atmosphere will reflect and tighten up their ozone layer. So Anu battled against another gentleman. I think his name is, I forgot his name. Battled against another gentleman. Anu won. The other guy lost. The other guy supposedly flew a spaceship to Earth, got to Earth, said he had all the rockets, and the next time Nibiru comes into the atmosphere, he's going to blow Nibiru up. Enki was dispatched to go and find him. And this is important. Now, the reason why I'm going to this, because this is important to understand later on. Enki is the first son of Anu, but he was born of a consort. He was not born of the queen, the primary queen mother. So Enki could never inherit the crown, could never become king. So Enki figured, why stay here? I can go to Earth and find this guy and then see if there's actually gold there, and then we can repair our planet. Enlil is Enki's little brother. Enlil is born from the queen mother. So Enlil is the rightful heir to the crown of Nibiru. You got to understand who these characters are in order for us to get there. So Enki is sent to Earth. He is later proclaimed the Prince of Earth, right? And he finds the gold, he finds the guy, he gets the gold, he gets the weapons. It's a whole bunch of stuff that happens. And then Enki starts reigning over Earth. They send the Agigi to come and help mine gold. Other Anunnaki species, they are sent to help mine the gold that is on the planet Earth in order to fix their atmosphere. Why is this important? Well, in your Bibles and other books, it tells you that in the Garden of Eden, when it tells you where it is, and there was much gold in the land. And as a kid, I always wondered, what does that got to do with anything? If there's only Adam and Eve, what does gold matter? There's no commerce at this time. There's no need for gold. What is the point of gold? But when you read the Sumerian story, you understand why it mentions that there is much gold in the land. So Inky and Enlil are now, and so Inky is on Earth. Enlil comes to Earth, and the thing about it is that Inky is a scientist, more of a humanitarian, as we would call him. Enlil is more of a warrior. This reminds me of in the Egyptian canon, you have Tutankhamun, who is the son of Akhenaten and Nefertiti. Tutankhamun is more interested in warfare, not so much running the state, which is why he didn't mind letting his mother, Nefertiti, run the state once Akhenaten was disposed of. And I'm going to do a whole nother live concerning Akhenaten and the false accusations that he and Moses are exactly the same, right? Another brother knows the story. Yep. Thank you, Indy. And hashtag popcorn gets you into the running to receive some free popcorn from my company, Uncle Renz Popcorn, to which I'm snacking on right now. So, you got to have this backstory to understand this whole battle. Throughout their whole existence here on Earth, Inky and Enlil are always at war, fighting against each other for power. And the majority of that power is the power not over the planet so much, but over you. It's power over you. He wants power over you. You see, when Inky comes and he finds the gold, and then Enlil comes and he wants to control everything, Inky convinces the Igigi to protest against Enlil to say that, hey, and you can find this in the Octrahesis, to say that, look, we working too hard. We doing too much. This is backbreaking. And Inky and Enlil is like, I don't care. But then Anu is like, nah, you know what? They are working hard. So Anu so then Inky comes up and say, hey, me and Ninharsag, we figured out, we see this man-like creature on the planet. We can infuse our Anunnaki bloodline into this man-like creature and then move their evolutionary pattern to the point where they can then mine the gold for us. And Anu approved of it, and they did 16 trials. Dana was, thank you for it. Appreciate that, Dana. 16 different variations until they finally got it. Like it talks about, they made a version of man that could not close his eyes. They made a version of man that was just dumb as hell. So there are different versions of man that were created. And maybe this is why we see the different types of man skeletal remains throughout the planet. The Neanderthals, Cro-Magnon man, all these different variations of man that were created. Enlil had one rule. Man was not supposed to reproduce. But in order to get man to the level where he could mine the gold, handle the machinery, do all the work, Inky's experiments went to the point of enough Anunnaki blood in man's genome in order for man to reproduce. This angered Enlil because at one point, when Enlil was walking through the cool of the day in the Garden of Eden in Chaldea, let y'all think about that one for a second. Is this factual or faith-based like religion? Says Razul. This is factual to the point of the Sumerians writing it down. This is factual to the point of the Sumerians and the Egyptians having technology that we still to this day do not have nor understand. For instance, there are depictions of what we would call a helicopter or a jet or a spacecraft that they wrote about, that they drew pictures of. And if they didn't have this technology or witnessed this technology, then why would they have created this technology? You go to Mesoamerica, where the Anunnaki were also present, and you have men sitting on like motorcycle rockets with space helmets and things of that nature. And they knew about it. They knew about that Sirius, that the star Sirius and Sirius B had a weird connection to it that looks like the DNA, looks like a DNA strand. They knew about the different planets. They knew that there was a sun and there was 9 planets that revolved around it. So they had knowledge of things that if we are supposed to be the smarter group, have discovered planets like Pluto, they already knew existed. So it's more than just a faith, or it's more than just literature. It's more than just having a belief. It is proof in their knowledge of what they knew. So, and they claim their statement, not mine, not anyone else's, is that they said the gods from heaven to earth came, told them this information. So, the only way you're going to have some hardline proof is if an Anunnaki come down right now and say, hey, yeah, this is what we did. Or if you get a time machine and you go back, then you can, right? Any books on suggestion? Well, I would suggest you read the Atrahasis, you read the Sumerian, all the Sumerian texts. Even though they try to dissuade you from reading Zechariah Ascension, I would read Zechariah Ascension and the Lost Books of Inky. I would read all of those. And there are some other people out there who have some really good information. So I would go back and watch those series of ancient astronauts. Watch some of that, but watch that after you've read. And then you'll be able to see what's hyperbole and what's not. Okay? So, back to the story. And I love you guys' questions. I am the type person during a live, I will stop where I'm going and answer a question. So, don't think that you can't ask a question. But I'll always try to get back, and if I forget where I am, I'm depending on you guys to bring me back. So, man is created. Let us create man in our image by using Anunnaki blood. You have to understand, these stories have been recycled over and over again to fit the culture and fit the understanding of each time frame. So Enki makes man. He speed up man's genome. He doesn't create man. That's one of the first lies. Nobody created, like the Anunnaki didn't create man. And the other lie is that the Anunnaki, right? No problem, Lehman. The Anunnaki are not gods. They are not gods. That is the first. Oh, thank you, Russell. That is the first and biggest lie. Read the excerpts from The Serpents and the Flying Rainbow Dragon. That's a good book too, Hoop Daddy. Read that book. Hey, why people, why? Hashtag popcorn. Get in the running for a 10-pack of Uncle Renz popcorn. All right, I'll contact whoever wins, and then you'll give me your information. So we have to recognize that these are not gods. Now I want you to think about it. If beings came down to people and they displayed a long lifespan, they also, so they live longer than people, and they're like, well, they've always been there. You're immortal. You're not immortal. You just have a longer lifespan. If they're able to heal people in ways that you don't understand, they're not gods. They just have better technology. I love the fact that on one of the Marvel movies, I forget which one it was one, but Thor, he was like, we are not gods, we just have greater technology, and y'all, we call it science, y'all call it magic. You know what I mean? It was like, when he said that, I was like, woo. But if you take a people who don't know, they will think that these are gods. Like if an alien actually read the Bible, they can come down and impersonate Jesus or Allah, and they can do everything that they say that they're gonna do in the book, and people be like, oh my God, it's Jesus come back. Oh, it's Allah. They do all that. They will fall on their faces and believe, right? Because technology can do that to you. We get amazed when we go to an illusionist magic show, and it's like, wow, how did they do it? Is it magic? Is it real? Is it fake? So they are not gods. That's the first lie. We have to recognize that these are not gods. Although they did believe in an all, in a creator of everything. But that creator is not walking around in the cool of the day. That creator is not, this jealous creator. And there's something I'm going to read about a jealous creator in a little bit that I found very interesting from the Essenes. If you haven't read the Humane Book of Christ, the Essenes Humane Book of Christ is an interesting read. But they created this man, and the man was doing the work. Enlil several times tried to kill man, tried to get rid of man. Enlil, and this is very important to understand, Enlil hated man. He wanted to kill off man. He sent disease after disease to kill off man because man was making too much noise and there was too many of them. Enlil feared the fact that man, the reason why he didn't want man to be able to reproduce he didn't want man to come to the realization of knowledge, is because he believed that if man had knowledge, then they would realize their own divinity. And in realizing their own divinity, they would no longer desire to be a slave. It's kind of like the story that Julius Caesar tells about the Roman centurion who taught a slave the trivium. That if you teach a slave the trivium, he will no longer desire to be a slave. And Julius Caesar threatened that centurion by sending him out to battle by himself with no armament. That is how important it was. That lesson that Julius Caesar had in his mind came from Enlil's thought process as well. If man knew he was a divine spirit, not to be shackled and chained or to be the slave of anyone, then he would no longer worship the Anunnaki. And that happened quite often, that man would revolt against the Anunnaki. So Enlil didn't like man, and he had good reason. He was right. There is always some of us who's not going for that BS. And Enlil he would want disease after disease. But in the Atrahasis, there was Atrahasis is the name of a character. This gentleman would always fight against Enlil's proclamations and try to make and allow man to survive. Even though, and at the end, the flood story is Enlil allowing man to perish in a flood because Nibiru is going too close to Earth again and is causing major climate changes, and in the northern hemisphere is going to flood. So Enlil doesn't like man, but yet Enlil wants to lord over man. He wants to present himself as man's God. When you read the Sumerian text, you come to realize that Enlil himself is both Jehovah and Allah. You come to realize that El is Enlil. This is important because in the Garden of Eden, when that story is told, man was supposed to remain ignorant. It is told in the Sumerian text that Anu and Enki were the keepers of knowledge. Anu is the father, Enki is the son. Right? Anu was the keeper of the tree of life, while Enki was the keeper of the tree of knowledge. Enki wanted man to have knowledge. So Enki would teach man how to utilize Anunnaki science. And in doing so, man began to grow in his consciousness, grow in his understanding, and man began to become a living soul because man knew more. He understood more. And Enki felt that if man knew more, then he would be more self-sufficient. And he just, at some point, even though he made a slave race, so I'm not saying Enki is all that great, but even though he had his hand in making a slave race, he still did not want that slave race to just be a slave, So when you read the Garden of Eden story, what you're reading is Enki, the serpent, desiring to give man knowledge of good and evil. He thought it was better for man to know science than it is to not know science. Enki was the type of scientist who did stuff and didn't think about the repercussions of it afterwards. Like the scientists who made the atom bomb and nuclear weapons. They can do it, but just because you can do something doesn't mean you should always do it. The repercussions are not necessarily thought of. Enki did a power play to give him more power on earth and in his father's eyes, but it wound up being his undoing. Because once Inky and Enlil went to battle, Enki lost the battle. Enki was cast out. The Son of God fell. Enki no longer was the prince of earth. Enki became the prince of lies, the prince of evil, Beelzebub, everything negative. The serpent became something, it's kind of like today. If you put a smear campaign against Biden or Trump, And if it's repeated over and over and over and over again, and then if the news starts repeating it, people will say the story must be true. Well, Enlil decided to put a story about Inky being the devil, being Lucifer, being Satan, being evil, the cause and destruction of everything of man, to the point where, and he wrote it down, he had them write it down, and they believed it, and we still believe it today. It's called the Bible. It's called the Quran. It's called the Torah. It's called the Bhagavad Gita. It's called all these books. But yet they all have a contradiction to them. Inky is represented as the serpent, but yet the serpent is also venerated. The serpent, Jesus, Yeshua, says, be wise as serpents, but as humble, as peaceful as doves, or shy as doves, something like that of doves, but humble as doves. If the serpent is so evil, why are we being wise as serpents? In the Hindu religion, Krishna, when he was rescued, was protected by the 9-headed serpent. And that's why you'll see like a Buddha or a enlightened one. Buddha just means enlightened one. When you see that in the Hindu and Buddhist traditions, sometimes they'll have a 9 or 10-headed serpent over them. I forgot what it's called, covering them, protecting them. Many of the mother goddesses were considered, their protective animal was the serpent. The Egyptians said that Reni-Nutet was the protector of the crops of the harvest, a serpent. The serpent has also represents healing, medical. Our medical symbol of the caduceus, the serpent. The kundalini energy that comes up your body, the 2-headed serpent. The masculine, and the serpent represents the masculine and the feminine. It is the phallic symbol of the man, but because of how their belly engorges when they consume, they are also the female nurturing version, symbol of women. The serpent has all these great things. The angelic beings, there's orders of angels, archangels and whatnot. Seraphim are considered great things. And seraphim comes from, it means the fiery serpents. Moses put a golden serpent on a pole, and anybody who was bitten by a fiery serpent and was in pain, look upon this golden pole of a golden serpent and you will be healed. The people will take up the serpent and not be bitten or die. Make up your mind. Is the serpent evil or is not? You have to make up your mind. It's kind of like anything with power. Whatever we want it to be, we can make it be whatever we want it to be. But Enki was, because he lost, it's so, I think, so repeat with the dualism with the serpent, good stuff. Yeah, there's so much dualism. The duat is all there. As my boy Jamar would say, duat is all in there concerning the serpent. So when we understand this, we have this situation where Enki is just the one who lost. It's kind of like when you look at our history as people. We always reading the story of the victor, right? If the Native Americans won the battle, it was a massacre. But if the colonists won the battle, it was a battle. Either way, it was a battle. It just depends on who won, who lost. If a black person murders someone, they're a murderer first. If a white person murders someone, what was troubling them? It's always something. The Russians were evil when I was growing up because they were the enemy. The Japanese were evil. They were the enemy. Whomever was the enemy, and they lost, they were villainized. Enki was villainized over and over again. But here's what's interesting. At no point during the first years of Christianity, well, let me go back further. At no point during the entire time of the Torah was the serpent in the garden, the Satan who was in Job, or Lucifer who fell from heaven. At no time were they one being until you get about 200 years after the supposed time of Yeshua. 200 years. About 120 years. Not until you get to the writings of Tertullian and you get in writings of Justin Martyr is the serpent in the garden, Satan, and Lucifer all the same. As a matter of fact, in Revelation, you know who they call Lucifer? Who is that term that is used to describe Lucifer? Jesus. Jesus, Yeshua, was also called the morning star. Lucifer is the morning star, the light bringer, the one who brought knowledge. And we have that story over and over again in different teachings. The Greeks had a story of one of the sons of Zeus who brought fire to man. I forgot his name. Brought fire to man. There's a story in the Mesoamerican in that one of the sons of God brought fire to man, or brought the way of building construction to man. That same story can be found in the Vedics, in the Hindu teachings, and in the Buddhist. That same story is always being told, that a son of God brought this knowledge to man, and then that son of God was villainized for doing so, for making man equal to God, right? So how can that be? How can man be equal to God? Why would God fear that? If these Anunnakis were truly gods, why would they fear man becoming equal to them based on gaining knowledge? That makes them not God. They are not gods. It's just an impossibility. So this whole story of the devil versus God, is Inky versus Enlil. To understand that, you again have to look at the Sumerian writings and understand how, in the Enuma Elish, that when Abram, he was not Abram, is separated from the Sumerian people, because you got to understand, Abraham was a Sumerian. When Abraham is separated from the Sumerian people, he was done so by Enlil, and he became El, who then became Yahweh, who then became Jehovah. So Enlil is El, Yahweh, Jehovah. Enlil is Baal, and he's also Baal. Enlil is the same. Prometheus, thank you. I should know that one. Because people, there's other videos I always watch that talk about the Prometheus style of running away. It's people, something falling on you and you just run in a straight line instead of just going to the side. From the movie Prometheus, I never understood that when they, you're running, thing is falling, just go right, go left. Why keep going straight? It makes no sense. But, so, sidebar, sorry. Enlil becomes Yahweh, becomes Jehovah, becomes Baal, becomes Baal, because and when they separate, they say if he becomes him. So Abraham follows the teachings, he has an allegiance to Enlil. So then he villainizes Enki, his brother Enki, and makes him the devil. And anytime somebody tried to speak against that, they would be crucified. And I want you guys to understand how this teaching is. Now, mind you, I'm saying that the Jews of old, the Jews of the Torah, were Enlil. They worship Enlil. Today, many Christian writers will say that the Dead Sea Scrolls are verification of the Old Testament and some of the New. That they wrote, that these things was written and they validated, because certain books of the Old Testament are very similar or exactly that. But they pick and choose which ones they want. Now, there is a one part of the Essene Humane Gospel of Christ that was found with the Dead Sea Scroll that I found interesting. Now, they utilize the name Yeshua, but they always just call him the good teacher in it. And I know this might be a little bit long. It's not going to be too long, but I want you guys to hear this, right? And then I'm going to relate this somewhere else as well. But it says that in the Essene Gospel of Christ, and where part they've separated, you go and look up the part that says the salvation of the world. It says, and Yeshua turned to the Pharisees and said to them, if ye know not the Son, ye know not the Father who sent the Son. I'm going to break this up though, okay? Ye speak according to the ignorance ye live by, for thy God is one with Satan, inventor of the lie and every evil in man. Now, the first part of that says, if you know not the Son, you know not the Father. I said earlier that Anu, the Father, sent Inky to earth, sent his son down and called him the Prince of Earth. But he's telling them that because of their ignorance, their God is one with Satan, the inventor of lies and every evil in man. There are some who say that Yeshua was a reincarnation of Enlil. Or he could have just been somebody who understood the mysteries and the true story of who Enlil was. Yeshua goes on to say, my Father who sent me unto the earthly sons of man is above earthly matters, wherein every deception and falsehood originates. Now understand, every earthly matters where deception and falsehood originates. And he's saying his Father is above that. Now he could be talking about Anu, but let's look at this esoterically. And I really could do a whole video just on this. Esoterically, if you're going to need to understand this for the rest of this, if you accept that there is a God, a creator of all things, a God who created the universe, why would he have earth man-like issues like jealousy, like envy, like anger? Why that Father would be, that God, that androgynous, because they would have to have both male and female energy, would be above all that. And when you read the Essene Humane Gospel of Christ, it talks about the Creator more in an androgynous being of both male and female, but not in the physical way that we understand it. But you can't have that. It was impossible for you to be, for a all-knowing, all-present God. What would he be jealous of? What? Is there other gods for them to be jealous of? No. So, to continue, ye speak well, you speaketh well, when ye say thy God is a jealous God. For what hath the maker of all things, who ruleth and owneth the universe, reason? Yo, I don't know what happened right there. Don't know what happened. YouTube tripping. Okay. Let's see. Let me know. Somebody let me know if we back. I don't know what happened right there. YouTube be doing some stuff sometime. I don't know. It's every time I get good into something like this, YouTube be wanting to shut me down and stuff. I don't know. Conspiracy, maybe. All right. So we back. Good. Cool. And since we're coming back, just want to remind everybody, since I'm the owner of Uncle Renz Popcorn, so if you type #popcorn in the comments, then a winner will be chosen in about 3 days, and you will receive a 10-pack sample kit of Uncle Renz Popcorn. Eric said, I guess God is mad. I guess so. So, what I said. So it's talking about, why do you make her a jealous God? For what hath the maker of all things, who ruleth and owneth the universe, reason for jealousy? He who is all love and all wisdom, right? He who is all love and all wisdom and all power and all grace. Thy God is over earth, my God over all created gods in your deception. So he's separating what his God is and your God. And he's saying, all created good. Thy God is over earth, meaning Enlil is over earth. My God over all created good, universe, not Enlil. This is why Yeshua, even in the Bible, kept telling them, y'all are worshiping a false God, right? You're worshiping true Satan. Say, in your deception, you speak corruption unto the sons of man, for thy God is inferior and ignorant, and knoweth not the holy things, nor cometh near to them. Enlil was a militarized, spoiled brat who was always jealous of his brother Inky, according to the Sumerian story. You find that same thing, Osiris and his brother Seth, always jealous and envious of Seth because of Osiris, because Osiris, whichever name you call him by, he got Isis. He got Isis. Seth didn't get her. You find that in all the books. You find that there's always this sniveling brother, Zeus, his brother Hades, little pissant, gets mad. And, there's always some anger issue, some fallacy that's being done over some emotional BS of brother against brother. But he says that he doesn't know of the holy things nor cometh near to them. They don't even get close to understanding it. If you understood Moses, ye would understand me, for Moses spake of me and in the true God. But y'all listen to him not, but corrupt his words, for ye wish not not truth yourselves, and wish not others to find it either. The thing about it is, there are some attributes of Moses that I can get down with, but Moses put up the bronze serpent in order to keep the people, right? Moses, when the people reverted back to worshiping the ram, the Taurus. They had a golden calf, so the bull. He was like, nah, that age is over. Why are y'all going back to that astrological age where there is no power? You got to move to this astrological age of power. It's a whole nother video on that too. So let's not get into it. But, Moses was more, if Moses existed in the way that the story says, then Moses was an Egyptian who understood the teachings of Akhenaten and realized that all of this worshiping of the Anunnaki is a bunch of BS and we shouldn't be doing it. But y'all keep going back to it. But let me show you real power. I show you real power based on universal power. That's what I pull from some of the understandings of Moses, but of course the writings have changed over and over again. Right? We can go into the ages very easily. And the thing about it, you see this Yeshua character always going against these Pharisees, always going against the ones who their religion came from worshiping Enlil. It didn't come from worshiping an all creative energy, a all creative consciousness that is not all involved in the affairs of man. Like he's Geppetto up here talking about some, well, I'm going to move you here, move you there. Oh, you don't want to worship me? Then I'm going to kill you and send you to hell. But I need you to be forgiving of everybody, though, so No, it wasn't about that. So this idea of the serpent versus, and you can see this in today's world, the serpent versus the eagle. When you look at countries that their flags is represented by an eagle, or there's some symbol of them is represented by an eagle, they're usually ones that hate knowledge, they hate wisdom, they hate love, and that they are, what's up, Shondell? They are more about military and ignorance and controlling the people. This is what they learned from Enlil. The countries that are more about the serpent and venerate the serpent, these are countries where it's more about knowledge and wisdom. It's more about living in unity with the earth. They are usually conquered by the eagles because the eagles are more militaristic, just plain and simple. When I do another live about Akhenaten, we will discuss that even further, how Akhenaten thought coming to the Egyptian in a more serpentine state of wisdom, of caring, of uplifting the people. One of the reasons why the Kundalini energy is represented by coming from the spine and going up is because of the serpentine energy must raise itself to your higher consciousness, all the way up to your higher consciousness. That it is from the lower chakras to the higher chakra that you come into your Godhead, your own Godhead, your own truth, your own knowledge, your own wisdom, your own movement of opening yourself up to recognize who you really are, right? And that's one of the other lies. One of the other lies, that we were created to be controlled. We weren't created. Evolution sped up, quite possibly. I believe that everybody on this planet has some level of Anunnaki blood in them. It's an impossibility not to. Um, I do accept the story because when you see what they drew, you see them drawing these big giant god looking things who are, they got what we would have as test tubes, and they're mixing it up, and then they're handing over a little human little baby to Inky. We're all test tube babies, born, engineered, re-engineered to fit the work needs of the Anunnaki, who were not gods but conquering a conquering race of beings who was selfish, jealous, angry, fought wars, had a lot of incest. You wonder why. I did a video about Moses and his incestuous upbringing, family lineage. They learned it from the Anunnaki. The reason why Enki could not become king of Nibiru is because Enki came from a cohort of Anu, but Enlil came from Anu being married to his queen, who was also his sister. And from that point on, the lines of succession was based on you had to have be in this incestuous relationship. If you when we do a video about Akhenaten, one of the things that's disturbing when you look at it is that Akhenaten could not rightly become Pharaoh, right? Because his father, Amenhotep the third, got with his cohort, Queen. Uh, gosh, I forgot her name. I forgot his name. Her name. His wife, his who became Queen Mother. She wasn't the sister, but Amenhotep the third had to marry his 3-year-old sister and wait to create an heir with them, which they created Nefertiti. And then Akhenaten got married to Nefertiti, which got Akhenaten into being Pharaoh, and then Nefertiti and Tutankhamun and so on and so forth. This incestuous bloodline thing comes from the Anunnaki doing their incestuous bloodline thing. Somebody just said something that who dare say I've been reading up on this, and they even they even have a goddess named Mami, of all names. Yeah, and when the first time I read that, I thought, is this why we call, because oh man, Mami in the Atrahasis is asked to be the womb to create man, right? And since Mommy is asked to be the creator of man, and then they say that, well, in order to create man, in my womb, they had to sacrifice one of the Akhenaten, sacrifice one of these Anunnakis, and the blood of that Anunnaki was mixed in with what Inky gave her, and bam, Mommy became the womb of bearing man, and so we call mothers Mommy. Now, there's a spell Mami, but we call mothers Mommy. Let me know if that just blew your mind for a second, because I think I was about 21, 22 the first time I read that. First time I noticed that, I should say. But that threw me off. I was like, what? Is that why we call you Mommy? But I found that to be very, very, very interesting when I saw that. But yeah, I mean, you guys got to read the Full Spectrum. Say you never heard that. We got to read these things. Look, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled is to keep you ignorant. It's to keep you ignorant. Enlil, in his story, Enlil does nothing but want to keep man ignorant so that he can maintain control over man. And everything, and this is the greatest trick, everything that is good for you, Enlil make you think is bad. Everything. Magic, bad. Magic is good. Universal knowledge, bad. No, universal knowledge is good. Understanding the law, how the universe functions, bad. No, it's good. Think about what God. You're supposed to be all loving, all knowing, all powerful, all everything. Why wouldn't you want your creation to understand the difference between good and evil? Why would you want them to remain stupid? And the only reason he had to kick him out the tree of the kick them out of the Garden of Eden, is because he said, I don't want them to ever have an opportunity to eat from the tree of life. Because if man ate from the tree of life, then man would live as long as the Anunnaki. And if man lived as long as the Anunnaki, we would not worship the Anunnaki. So he had to keep. So when the Genesis story says that you had to be kicked out, that Adam and Eve had to leave because they now were equal. They were now like us. Now they can't get that knowledge that Anu had about how to sustain life, how to properly ingest things like monatomic gold into your well, when you smelt gold, you get not the monatomic gold. It's an elixir that comes off of gold that is supposed to allow you to live longer. If you think about it, gold. If we were to have an electrical wire from here to California and it was made of gold, from the energy that went from here, from Atlanta to California, it will maintain that energy all the way through. But when you use lesser metals, less pure metals, the energy dissipates the further it goes. So if you were able, and our body has an electrical power plant inside of it. If we knew how to allow all of that to continue, we would live so much longer. Let me give you a little scientific part about that. Let me see if I missed a question. Who that said, yeah, coach, just learned this a couple of days ago. Oh man, my battery's going out. Oh, sorry. I want you to think about it like this. One of the reasons cancer is such a hard disease to fight is because cancer cells, every cell in the body has what's called telomeres, right? Telomeres is what allows your cells to reproduce themselves. The difference between every cell in your body and cancer cells is that every time a cancer cell reproduces, let's say the telomeres is this big, they stay this big, right? No coincidences, right? They stay this big. But your heart cells, every time, because your body reproduces itself like every 3 to 7 years. Every time your heart cells reproduce themselves to continue, the telomeres get smaller. And then the cell reproduces and the telomeres are smaller. The reproduced telomeres get smaller. This is called aging. Your organs age, your skin age, everything ages because the telomeres in your cells get smaller and smaller, get less and less and less. But cancer cells, the telomeres stay. This is why every time I talk to someone who's a bioengineer or they work on cancer, I always tell them, I said, look, if you can figure out how cancer cells maintain their telomeres, and you can implement that into every other cell in the body, then human beings will live as long as they choose, barring massive accidents or some other deformity. But being able to live longer is within the body. We just don't know how to do it yet. But maybe that tree of knowledge, that tree of life, did something that the Anunnaki understood that allowed the telomeres in the cells to last longer, to not dissipate as fast. And gold has something to do with it. Because according to the Sumerian stories, the Anunnaki would make special drinks out of the elixir, the runoff of smelting and purifying gold. They would make special drinks of it, and they would drink it. And they, according to the stories, would live 200, 300, 400,000 years. So now I don't know how long they lived, but they lived long enough that people thought that they were gods, and they weren't. So how that works is what we don't know, right? Why people, I say, I always wonder why we don't live long. Well, that's pretty much why. Barring any major accidents or deformities or something like that, viral infections, your telomeres become less and less as the cells reproduce until they can't reproduce anymore. Natural death is your cells not being able to reproduce in major organs and major areas of the body, and you just succumb to it. But if we can increase them dang on telomeres, we would be able to live for much, much, much longer, right? What up, G-Man? Hashtag popcorn. Get into the running for some free popcorn. So these are the lies that we've been told. between Inky and Enlil. The whole lie is that the God versus the devil is Inky versus Enlil. And because we're told this lie, we miss out on the real picture. The real picture is that even these beings, who supposedly existed according to our ancestors, they existed. They also existed as Shango and Odamare. They existed as Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent. They existed as the sky people. They existed as Krishna and Brahma and Vishnu and Shiva. They existed in all these different names all over the planet because all of them got very similar stories. The only difference is if you understand the culture of each time frame of writing, you'll see why there's differences. But they all existed. Ilnana becomes Ishtar. It's all the same people. Ningashita is Thoth. Thoth becomes Hermes. They're all the same people, right? When we understand this, we know that they're not gods. When we understand this, we understand that everything in the universe is created, right? Right, that Odamare is the father of Shango in Yoruba. And Shango is my dude. Shango is my dude. Actually, I got my motorcycle right here. You can't see it, but my motorcycle, that's his name. That's Shango. Me and Shango riding across, me and my wife, we riding cross country this summer. This spring. But that's the name of my bike, Shango. The Thunderer. And think about it. Shango is the Thunderer. Then we have Odin and his wife Frigga. And they have Thor, the Thunderer. The son who fell from grace from his father until he redeemed himself. Right? And he's the protector of Midgard, Earth. Think about that. I wasn't even planning on talking about that. But think about that. Odin has a son, Thor. Thor is on Earth all the time, and he's the protector of Earth. God has Jesus. Jesus is sent down. He's the protector of Earth. Same stories. Same stories. Different cultures, different telling it different ways based on how they live and how they and their worldview. Very similar. All right, Thor is Shango. Yep. That's right, Kyle. Sure is. Same thing. Or I would actually say, yeah, Thor is Shango. Yeah, because Shango came before Thor. Shango is the god of the storms who hangs with Oye and the mother of the storms and changes, right? One day we can do a video of where music fits in. Oh, music fits in and frequency. It's all about the sun and the moon. Exactly, because Anu symbol is the sun, Enki symbol is the moon. It's a whole bunch. A lot of it is astrological. A whole bunch of it is astrological. And that's what we got to realize. We call what they did magic, right? Right? And understanding what they say. The elements of earth and the 12 attributes of the ethereal zodiac energies. And that's all energies. This is why kings and queens. Did y'all know that Queen Elizabeth, John Dees was her astrologer and psychic, right? These people, the reason they fought battles and wars based on what the stars said, what the universal energy was, the seasons, all these things mattered into how they conducted things. Ask yourself, why do movies release on Thursdays? Why not on a Monday or a Tuesday? What's the big holdup? They release on Thursdays. Why do farmers know to plant during a growing moon and to harvest during a waning moon, right? And say all these things are astrological. Even the books of Daniel speaks of it. Yeah, they are. Everything is astrological. Because the magic is that within the writings, there is the truth of how to utilize these powers. Hidden within, the best way to hide something is right in front of you. So hidden within all these things is the truth of how you utilize the tree of knowledge and the tree of life, right? One of the reasons why I started reading the Essenes Humane Gospel of Christ is not because I'm a follower of the Essenes or Yeshua or anything of that nature, but I'm reading it to gain a deeper understanding of their thought process in the power of not eating meat, right? The power of not eating meat. We have to realize there. So it's astronomical, or were they beings that live? It's a combination of both. Beings that live that symbolize themselves with astronomical powers and symbols, right, of the sun and the moon. But and it's being able to break down the allegories that they're trying to teach based on those things. Um, there are stories of some people being able to be resurrected while others couldn't, and it's all based on the time of year, seasons, environmental things. All this stuff was going on, and you have to have the knowledge of that in order to utilize it. This is why certain people that we may call a genius really weren't geniuses, right? Einstein really wasn't a genius. He was intelligent. Now, I'm not going to take that away from him, but a genius, no. If you look at Einstein, it was a certain season that all his stuff came out, and nothing else came out after that. All his stuff came in a certain season that he knew, or somebody told him, or led him, or instructed him. This certain epoch of time, and during a season, that all his brilliance came out. The magic is figuring out and understanding that someone has, and if you listen to earlier new reports of the Trump administration and aid of, he said just that. Now they want to keep it a secret. I don't know which part of that said, because I've been running my mouth. Um, we have all the attributes. We just forgot how to access them because of the lost knowledge or the thought of manipulation. And that's that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. The biggest lie. We used to know. But even the Anunnaki, they said it got to a point where Anu was like, you know what? I divvied up all the world to all my children, to all the Anunnaki of royal bloodlines, all the Anunnaki of high status. I divvied up the world to y'all. Y'all took the Gigi was with y'all and divvied up even more. And but y'all still fighting over control. So what we're gonna do, you're gonna put some of these humans in control. The ones that y'all been coming down and having sex with and creating hybrids, even more so hybrids, because of course everyone is a hybrid of human and Anunnaki, which creates Homo sapien sapien, which creates Homo sapien. I'm gonna say it that way, creates Homo sapien. But then there were those, like in the story of Marduk's wedding, um, Azrael or Azazel and 200 other Igigi come down and they swoop up wives. And then when Anu was like, nah, y'all can't do that, they like, nah, bruh. If Marduk can marry a human, we gonna marry a human. And then these became the fallen angels who had sex with women, the daughters of men, the sons of God who had sex with the daughters of men. Both, one book called them fallen angels, the other book called them sons of gods. Had sex with these women, then taught them Anunnaki technology and magic, and they had babies that they called giants, the great men of renown. And then them jokers lost their minds, started eating people and going crazy, and so all of them had to be killed. But yet they still survived after the flood. So we used to know these things when we were connected, when the Anunnaki were visibly part of our lives, right? All the stories talk about how the gods were active in man's life. The Anunnaki were there. But as we grew in number, as we grew in consciousness, the Anunnaki had to take a step back and they had to let humans run humans. But it's only humans of certain bloodlines. The one that got the most Anunnaki blood in them are the ones who were put in control. But even those bloodlines have become blurred more and more. The more and more we grow, those bloodlines are blurred. There are those who say that the reason why the British royal family is mad that the dude married the Canadian girl is because she is not of that Anunnaki bloodline, doesn't have as much Anunnaki bloodline. And that's why they're mad. It's not about her being, half black. It's about that, because there are plenty of black people who have higher degrees of Anunnaki bloodline. Look at whoever's in charge and who's been in charge over time. You will find that those were more Anunnaki in their bloodline. Maybe you just think about it. Thoth and all his dudes came to Egypt. Egypt wasn't full of white people. Egypt was full of black people. They went down to the Apsu, full of black people. So, and black people was all over the place. So we can't just say white people. It's anybody. You don't know who it is. And not all are in these power positions that you can point at. Some are chancellors at schools. Some are professors at schools. Some are business people. Some are librarians. You don't, every high end person, it's not everybody is not a high end person, what we would categorize as high end, because the greatest keeper of the keys at any school is the janitor. The one who has the most access is the janitor. So don't think it's always the person that you will put on top with a whole bunch of money. Some of the most powerful people will be the ones that you least suspect. Story goes they mixed with Neanderthals and later through gene manipulation made of. Right, but it's not just Neanderthal. It's Neanderthal, Cro-Magnon. It's all the generations of manipulation basically that got to the point where you finally get Homo sapien, and then Homo sapien sapien. Queen Charlotte was biracial. All right, so the key is getting through all the BS, figuring out what's real. Because I was asking myself this question today. They when you read the story of Moses, the Exodus story, Aaron throws down his staff and it turns into a serpent. At the same time, the Egyptians throw down their staffs and it becomes a serpent too. Everybody knows how to do this magic, how to utilize this power. Now, what's the serpents represented actual serpents or is symbolic of something else? Energies, weapons. I'm more aligned to think there's more some kind of weaponry, not literal serpents, or energetic or energy. What like Arukin, like them jokers, energy projections. It's all magic. It's all universal energy and magic power that we've forgotten how to use. We've forgotten how to access. And the world is now filled with so much BS that it's hard to figure out. It's kind of like the news. The news is filled with so much BS, you don't know what's true and what's not true, right? They keep telling you that you wave your hand over a hat and hocus pocus, alakazam, bam, and a rabbit supposed to appear. But we know it's a lie, it's a trick, right? But there's some real, true magic, so to speak, going on. And it's our duty to figure it out. We figure it out. And by understanding how the universe, how the stars and the planets and all that stuff affects us and how we affect it, more importantly, how being being totally focused on your purpose will move you in possess and power that you will never understand. That the magic of cause and effect, like cause and effect, is the most powerful energy manipulation that you can possibly have, right? No white people in Egypt. Someone argued me down that I should shut up and about Gal Gadot playing the role of Cleopatra because she was half Greek. Um, that I want to learn, Coach. I need that magic. I need that magic. I'm learning that magic, bro. Black Duchess, sorry, Duchess. Um, I don't know. Gal Gadot playing Cleopatra. I think she's too light. Cleopatra was a Hellenistic Greek who was of the Ptolemy family, so she did have some Greek blood in her. So I think she's too light. I think Cleopatra was more of a Halle Berry tone level because since she was part Nubian, part Greek. But I'm thinking more of Halle Berry, not Gal Gadot. Gal Gadot's more Persian looking, you know, of modern day Persian. So she needs to go on something with that. I think, but I think it's popular right now. Um, oh my God, my daughter's out there singing. She needs to stop. But no, my daughter can sing. My people need help, need my help, and they do. We do have to figure out this magic, but this magic is not always something that happens without things needed. Like when you watch some of these shows that try to give you glimpses of what magic used to be back in the day, it required the rituals and symptoms were ways of manipulating universal energies in order to help you in your actions that move things, right? Like I can't just go inside my store, draw a chalk circle, put the symbols of the Ankh and put symbols of Mammon and put other symbols in the circle and call upon the nine lords of Atlantis to bring forth the knowledge and wisdom to in marketing. I can't just do that. I can't just do that ritual and then have other certain things in the ritual. You know, have my Tibetan singing bowl so I can get into the right frequency of it. I can't, you got to do more than that. Then behind that, it is the actions that you take, the power of cause and effect. For every cause, there is an effect. For every effect, there is a cause. What is the causal factor that will bring more people in my store, right? Implement that in my request of casting, and then take movements in that action. And because I projected out that energy, then that energy returns itself because I'm committing myself to the energy. We have to understand that these people who were magicians, Merlin, just any magician, Merlin's just real popular. But people like, let's see, who's famous people who I know? Da Vinci. If you think about their lives, a lot of these people led solitary lives. A lot of these people did not allow outside interactions to deter them from their focus of moving forward and gaining more and more knowledge and increasing their consciousness. They didn't remove themselves of that. And the ones who did have relationships, they never let their husband or wife become the primary focus, so that they remove that, so that their movements towards gaining more higher levels of consciousness became secondary to pleasing their spouses or pleasing their children or pleasing their mothers and pleasing their fathers, or the thousands of other distractions. That's right, hashtag popcorn gets you in the running for some popcorn. But the thousands of distractions that you go through on a daily basis, from you truly focusing in on uplifting your consciousness, but utilizing it. There's no point in a person who has knowledge but never puts it into practice is a waste. Once you get it, you got to move with it. You got to use it. If you're not using it to do something, but I ain't saying everybody got to build a business, everybody has to wake up the world. You just have to use it for whatever you decide your purpose is. He said that we could live forever based on a scientific find that has not been widely circulated. They have been searching for this information, and they have found what they were looking for in Iraq. Yeah, and that's an interesting thing. I don't know how you mean that, but I'm just gonna take it the way I interpret it. What I found interesting is that what year is this? This is 2020, 2018. Here in Atlanta, there was a biochemist conference here in Atlanta, and I can tell you a heck of a lot more about why we invaded Iraq. Okay, well, let me rephrase what we stole from Iraq. There were crates and crates of Sumerian tablets that were loaded onto the ship that I was on, right? Exactly. We went straight to the museums. And we weren't in like the front part of the museum where everybody else said. We in the basement of the museum, just taking Sumerian tablets after Sumerian tablets after Sumerian tablets. Because I had started studying cuneiform back then, I recognized exactly what those tablets were the moment I saw those things. And I was like, oh my God, we are robbing Iraq of its knowledge, right? Because how else do a people who lived in the middle of the desert figure out how to irrigate and make the desert bloom to create Babylon? How does Sargon the First figure that out? You figure that out because somebody taught you some stuff. But what Indy was saying about living longer, yeah, when I was at that conference, and I went to that conference, I paid to go to this conference, not a biochemist at all. I just knew I wanted to put in the ears of certain of people that, cancer cells with telomeres is key. It has to be part of the key. I don't know how much of it is because they are studying it more intensely than me, but I knew somebody had to take that route towards anti-aging and not just focusing on killing cancer cells. Like, there's a benefit here, people. Let's look at, let's flip that. And I remember this one group that I was talking to, and the guy was like, so what do you do for a living? And, even though I had my popcorn company at the time, I just told him, I said, I drive for Lyft. And after we finished talking and everything, the guy, I hear one of the guys when I'm walking away says, and excuse my language, he said, who the fuck thinks a Lyft driver would come in here talking about telomeres? Where does that come from? And then I heard them talking about it even more and more. I don't know. I'm not in that circle. But I will, every time I meet somebody in those circles who's studying that, I'm putting that bug in there because I don't know who is the right person that is 6 degrees of separation to get that done. Because I need to reverse all of this about, I'm 49 now, about 10 years and stay right there, right around 39. I love 39. 39 was good. 39 was good. Body felt real good. Jump up and down, real flexible. you know. But yeah, we do. We have to sift through all the BS, man. And we have to recognize what's real, what's not. If we start with universal laws, and start to understand frequency. Tesla's talked about, and there are sometimes somebody put out there that they believe that Tesla, nah, 25 was best. I don't know. I was real fast at 25 too. I could run real. Yeah, I don't know. 25. I don't know. I just don't want to look that young. I like the way I looked in my 30s. When I was 25, my head looked gigantic. My body wasn't, I didn't have my man body on. That's why in the 30s, when your muscle mass matures in your 30s. So that's why I need that matured muscle mass, not that young muscle mass. Yeah, young muscle mass is good for sports, but I need that mature muscle mass. That's why you never see a Mr. Universe or Mr. Olympia who is younger than 27. They're all usually 30, in their 30s. I used to do amateur bodybuilding back in the day. So I lost my train of thought. Oh, Tesla. Yeah, Tesla, not just by the U.S. government. Tesla showed that the pyramids were actually power plants. Now, I forgot who asked earlier, how do we know this is true, or if it's, belief and faith? The pyramids Tesla proved the pyramids were not tombs. The Great Pyramids of Giza were not tombs. Later pyramids were used as tombs. They have the tombs in them, burial site. They were later used for that because the Egyptians forgot what they was really for. They forgot, and they thought that they were stupid tombs. But no, when you look at the Great Pyramids and the way the shafts are made and everything, and there's some mechanisms that's missing, and it's set over an aquifer, and the Nile River used to be right up against it. Over time, the Nile River has moved 8 miles apart, and then it was covered with alabaster with a gold top. That thing conducted electricity. That was a natural conductor of electricity. It was a power plant. And you know what the receivers of the power plant were? Obelisk. The obelisk was the receiver of the power plant. They tried to tell us this, that the power is there in the story of Asar and Aset in the creation of Horus, that when Asar, his body was put back together on top of the pyramid, the Great Pyramid, right? The only thing and then she took an obelisk and put that in place of his penis, hovered above it, and the son Horus was born. The sun is the giver of life and energy, right? So the obelisk is the receiving point of a receptor of that pyramid energy. That's why on each end of my table behind me, where I conduct all my rituals, there are 2 obelisks at the ends with incantations, Egyptian incantations on them. They sit there. And I don't have a big one yet. I'm ordering a big one, but I have a pyramid with the chakra colors that sits on it, right? In order to get into the right frequencies before I meditate. These singing bowls will personify your energy. And I just ordered a bunch of these too. But there's many other things on my table that I use for all this stuff. Oh, I accidentally hit that. And it's that understanding, right? Pyramid power transformation is what pyramids were. Right. Now, think about this. That was known, which is why the Anunnaki had pyramids built all over the planet, because they transmitted energy and communication. So pyramids, that's why the Mesoamericans built pyramids. In China, they built pyramids. In Britain, they built pyramids. In the Americas, they built pyramids. The pyramids all over the planet, right? Pyramids on the water, pyramids down in Antarctica, pyramids everywhere. But you'll also see obelisks are everywhere as well. And I was pointing this out to my wife the other about a week ago. I said, "You ever notice when you drive past graveyards that there are always obelisks in the graveyards? Most graveyards, I've seen maybe 2 graveyards in my lifetime that does not have an obelisk in it. Right? There used to be a crystal one on top and bottom of the pyramid. Right. Well, it was said that it was a gold top is the way they described it in the Emerald tablets. So I don't, but I mean, crystals are conductors of energy too. We have to regain this knowledge. We have to regain. But I know the power brokers, free energy. Tesla had to be destroyed because he was giving away free energy. And the J.P. Morgans and the Rothschilds of the world were not having it. So they gave that money. They took the money from Tesla, discredited him, and then gave the money to Edison, who created repeating energy so that you had to pay for it. Right? If Tesla would have been, if the serpents would have won, Tesla's information would have spread. We would all be driving cars with obelisks on top of them, receiving free energy. You have an obelisk on top of your house, receiving free energy. You know, we wouldn't have all these fossil fuels and things that we're burning, so our sky would be clearer, our air would be cleaner, our water would be cleaner, your body would last longer, we would have less disease because we would be in, what was that? It was like it was V, the movie, the miniseries V. We had that blue energy, right? We had that blue energy going on, and our advancements will be entirely different in this world. But we don't, because the ego factions, the ones who are, as Enlil is caught up in jealousy and anger and greed and these sort of things, their faction is winning. And every time a person comes out with the serpentine mindset of understanding the movement of knowledge is to the benefit of the people, we, he said, J.P. Morgan told Tesla, if you can't put a meter on it, I don't want it. Exactly. They try to shut those people down. If I came out and I was teaching the same controlling teachings that every other religion teaches, I would have 300,000 subscribers right now. Easy. Easy. Because the way I dig deep into stuff, at one point I was that guy. I tried so hard to not be this guy, to not know the stuff that I know. I actually was making deals and I was like, please, God, if you could just show me that all this stuff I'm studying is wrong, because I'm tired of fighting people. Right? Then I was literally in that state. And then what happened, because my true energy was like, nah, just show me the truth. My true energy just took me to a whole nother place where I got to see some historical stuff, and I saw that, damn, here's another lie that I was told. And because I saw it, go watch my video on how many lies does Emperor Constantine have to tell you. And I go over how that just, I was trying to be a good Christian boy, a good Christian man, but I just couldn't. I couldn't. Saw Constantine's arc, and I was like, nope, another lie, another lie. Then I read the writings of Eusebius of Caesarea, another lie, another lie. Indy says, I need to contact you personally, so tell me how to get you my personal. So, mastering you, the number 10 at gmail.com. Can I type that in now? Oh, no. Oh, no, I guess I can't do it. Unless I was on my YouTube or something. But that would be how you can contact me the easiest, is through that mechanism. Let me see if I can do something here and put that on now. But mastering you, the number 10 at gmail.com would be the easiest way to contact me. For anybody who desires so. And I'm going to see if I can make that a reality. So you can see what I'm talking about. This is weird. Let's see if that comes up. Bam! There it is. So masteringyu, the number 10 at gmail.com. That's my email address for my coaching company. So that's the easiest way to contact me, is through there. Um, and I believe my wife came home about 20 minutes ago, 15, 20 minutes ago. She did not come in the door, which is interesting, even though I have put a sign on my door saying that I'm recording. So she usually is pretty good about not messing that up, coming in when I'm doing that, unless it's something that needs to be done. Um, oh yeah, it's 7 o'clock. We gotta go to the gym. Gotta work out, guys. Gotta get this. Gotta get it right. Gotta have a healthy body to have a healthy mind and have healthy energy. All right. So we want to do that. I don't do enough health videos, health related videos, but I'm gonna start doing more and more health related videos. I did want to get myself in better shape before I started doing those. Over the last 2 months, I've lost 15 pounds. My body flexibility has increased because I'm all about now really understanding this power that is out there in the universe for us to be able to use. You know, it's all around us. It's like the energy is there. We have to figure. That's the lie that they've been telling you, is that you got to go to these doctors. You got to try to do things this way or that way, you know, in the way that they've always done it. But you don't. But you don't. Hexagonal water, I'll try that. You don't. If you understand pyramid power, if you understand getting into frequency and the universal laws, you can begin to change so many of the things around you. You can change people, how they are around you. And I read the people that they tell me not to read. I read Madame Blavatsky, even though she got corrupted towards the end. Just because she got corrupted towards the end, the hexagon is the father, right? Is the father in the heavens 33. Just universal law is the hermetic laws: law of correspondence, law of mentalism, law of cause and effect, law of rhythm, law of vibration, the law of gender. Understanding those first, you know, those things, and you should read the Kabbalion, right? Indigo King, peace and love to you too. If you read the Kabbalion, you really will, you know, that's like first step. That's like cliff notes to the Emerald Tablets. So I always tell people, read the Kabbalion first before you try to read the Emerald Tablets. Because if you try to read the Emerald Tablets without the Kabbalion, then all you're going to hear is, you know, Thoth and the 9 lords, and it's going to sound more religious and scientific, science fictiony than than being able to pull out that information. Because when you read the Kabbalion and you're hearing the Emerald Tablets, then you start, you know, recognizing when they're talking about the law of mentalism and how it affects. And see, you start hearing the law of mentalism in the Emerald Tablets, and then how it was utilized and affected the people. You start hearing about all the, you know, when you hear these stories in it, you have a greater understanding of how they came about with that, right? So you're reading the Kabbalion right now, yeah, and then when you read books like the Kabbalion, right, and then later on you pick up books like Outwitting the Devil, you start understanding things. You really understand what Napoleon Hill is talking about in Outwitting the Devil. You really understand what Paulo Coelho is talking about in The Alchemist. Really start understanding what is talked about in the Masonic Magic of Count Monte Cristo. Count Monte Cristo. Caligostro. Monte Cristo. Sorry, there's a place I want to go to in Chicago. It's a cigar bar called Casa de Monte Cristo. I want to go there when I go to Chicago. Hermetics is where it's at. I went through the Emerald Tablets 12 times, 88 more times to go. That's right, 100 times. 100 times. You got to read Kabbalion to understand why he's saying 12 out of and 88 more to go. But yeah, guys, got to take my wife to the gym. Got to get in shape. Look forward to more and more of these. I don't know if I gave my appreciation, but Razul, thank you for the super chat, the $5. I really greatly appreciate that. I don't ask for donations, but hey, I gladly accept them. I have no problems accepting them. It does inspire me. I was just telling my brother earlier today, because like I said, we're going to take this cross-country motorcycle ride in April, And I was just telling them the other day, I said, man, I would love to just be riding this bike, riding my bike across country constantly, you know, and just shooting videos as I ride, shooting videos about hermetics, about nature, but also in the places that I'm visiting, every cigar bar that I go to. Um, I was just telling them, I was like, man, that would be like the life for me. Because then I'll be able to just study, you know what I'm saying? Just be able to study. I love studying, which that's part of why I do business. Part of why I do business is to create a lifestyle where I can spend 4 or 6 hours of my day just studying every day, just studying, you know. Um, I'm gonna look into the hexagonal water. Stephen P said that, right? Yeah, okay. Stephen P, you said that earlier too. I got you. But I'm looking. I never heard of it, but I'll look into it. So, Andy says same here. So I'm gonna with that. I appreciate you guys. I look forward to this. We're gonna have more and more lives as I've changed my work schedule so that I can actually either they're gonna be in the mornings or they're gonna be in the evenings. Quite a few of them will be in the mornings, depending upon the day. I'd rather do lives than to do a video and then go all that editing stuff. Right. Right. Please do its original water. All right. So y'all have a great day. Remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. And good journey, good vibration.